Welcome to Biztech's Technology Show. Altair is a global leader in computational science and AI. The company enables organizations across all industries to compete more effectively and drive smarter decisions in an increasingly connected world, all while creating a greener and more sustainable future. To tell us more about Altair and to share insights on technology convergence as a driver for productivity and economic growth, we have our guest today, Masatomo Ayame, the Altair's Senior Vice President, Asia Pacific, as well as Srirangam Srirangarajan, Altair's Managing Director for ASEAN and Australia, New Zealand. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Hello. Hi.
Now, for a start, gentlemen, maybe Ayama-san, you can give us an overview of Altair and its history.
Okay. Altair is a global company. They founded back in 1985 in the Michigan, the city Detroit, Michigan, United States. That originally our company is very focused on the technology for the automotive manufacturing, because as you all know that the Michigan is a very, the original state for, the automotive industry. So we started our business mainly focused on the simulation, for the manufacturing of automotive, vehicle. So after, almost 30 years, we are expanding our business a little bit more, the wider technology such as high performance computing and AI or machine learning, the more data analytics side. And at the same time, our the geography to make the business is more wider and global regions. Of course, Asia is a very, very important market for us because Asia Pacific region is, the automotive and not only automotive, the aerospace and electronics and high-tech companies are located in this region. And the people is very focused on and very, aiming very high to chasing the high technologies. So I'm leading this region with Ranga in the company in this meeting, and he's focused on the ASEAN and ANZ regions. That's a brief stories. Is it enough for you?
Yeah, that's good. So I want to now zoom in on Sriranga a little bit. Sriranga, you are responsible for ASEAN as well as Australia and New Zealand. Could you give us some insights into the verticals that you are focused on and where you're most successful at, and perhaps share some customer insights into how you've helped customers?
Yeah, sure. I'll do that. Our main markets in the ASEAN region is automotive. There are a lot of captive automotive companies out here like Nissan, Toyota, Isuzu, Hino, to name a few, and they have a lot of R&D going on in this region. Okay, they all start off with just spec shops, and over a period of time, they have all grown up the value chain to create designs and develop products here in this part of the world, which is pretty good. What drives business in the Australia and New Zealand region is aerospace and defense. There's a huge amount of defense investment out there in Australia. It's both government defense as well as private defense, which is running the show for us. And besides that, banks are again pretty large customers of ours, pretty large banks across the region, like Standard Chartered Bank or HSBC, Citibank. They're all our customers. And in Australia, it's NAB, National Australia Bank, CBA. So most of them are our customers in that part of the world as well.
Okay, and so what is your value proposition? This is a very competitive space in ASEAN and also in Australia and New Zealand. What's your secret sauce? Why are you doing better than the rest? What's your value proposition?
Oh, it's a pretty good question. You know, we have, number one, a pretty huge breadth of technologies. So we operate in the engineering space. We provide engineering simulation software. We also provide IoT, Internet of Things, AI, artificial intelligence, ML, machine learning. So what we see is, in the making of any contemporary smart product, there are a number of pertinent technologies that have to come together to create the necessary mix that is required. Okay, and some of these technologies that I just stated are component technologies to create contemporary products. And the way we license all these products are also pretty unique. We don't offer them as individual modules like the way our peer group does. We provide what is called as Altair units. So you have a certain number of units, you can run certain number of software from our staple. And with certain number of units, you can run whatever we have in our portfolio. And not only that, we also have tied up with many partners. These are niche software companies with niche technologies, but they do not have the bandwidth to take their technologies across the globe. So they tie in with us, and through our unit systems, we offer their products to our global audience. Okay. So that's another unique value proposition that we guys have. And we also do cross-pollination. We work with different industry segments and different technologies. That again forms a very interesting cross-pollination for different industry segments. Right? So ideas from one segment goes to the other, and that sort of helps them as well.
Now, Ayame-san, could you then expand on that because of your remit across Asia Pacific, and maybe give us some insights into what Altair does in large markets like India, Japan, and Korea and China, perhaps?
Yeah. So our presence in Asia, it was back in 1996, starting with Japan, and in Japan, and expanded to India and Korea and China and Australia. Those orders, of course, in that time, especially the Japanese automotive company, the Toyota, Nissan, Honda, Mazda, those are very eager to moving to the simulation side. So our product is very fit to their development, and newly simulation method, and especially for we call that the topology optimization, which is creating the new topology of the under the certain condition of the new vehicle. So that came that was very fit to that demand. But these days, changing a little bit, they are more data driven, or data-driven design is now popular, and then we with the customer, we are moving such a direction, and that is also their requirement to us. And as Ranga said, that our licensing model is very unique and very cost-effective to the customers. They can use all of our product with a minimum investment. That is most acceptable for them to work with us as technology partners. That is the same in Korea, India as well. In China, this is a not perfect time China market, but before, China is very key, and lots of the new technology is developed inside of China itself. But still, a lot of non-Chinese customer is working with there as a partners of the specific automotive companies or specific aerospace company as well. So they are also getting our technologies very aggressively. That is the situation, and I think that those are, trend is not so much changed, and we will have more, good, providing our products and technologies to them in the future as well.
Ayame-san, what was quite interesting that both of you mentioned repeatedly was the fact that your technology licensing model is really one of your key strengths. And I can see that happening particularly now as we move towards smaller, innovative companies in automotive and aerospace, particularly doing rapid prototyping and then bringing products faster to market at a very much earlier stage in their development compared to historical perspective. I think of the EV business as an example of innovation that's coming out of smaller companies. Could you shed some light into how you work with companies like this?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's a good question. That's very timely because we work with a number of EV companies. Let me put it this way: alternative fuel system vehicle companies. It's EV, hydrogen powered, and a few other types of alternative energies. So very specific to EV, yeah. They all love us purely because we have a unique way of picking up or solving their problems. Their problems are besides structural. They have quite a bit of issues with the batteries, issues around the batteries, with electromagnetics, with fluid dynamics. So we have different kinds of physics. We can capture all of them, and we can also do what is called as multidisciplinary optimization. So covering all these different physics that I just talked about, we can come up with the most optimal design for them. And that's one of the key strengths that we have, and the reason why the EV companies become our customers instantly.
Now, Ayame-san, I want to shift the conversation to your company's inaugural Altair Technology Conference. Now, you just had that in Malaysia recently, and you spoke about how technological convergence is driving productivity and economic growth. Could you share some insights into this conference, and what were some of the key takeaways that you have for the audience?
Okay, so as I mentioned, we started our company very focused on simulation only. At that time, the simulation is very focused, just one, the solve, for example, that the crash analysis, the vehicle in the crash and how, inside of the driver and the passenger is safer. That's all maybe. And how building is, stiff for the earthquake, something like that. That is simulation wide. And then, but recently the very complicated. So the problem is very complicated, becoming complicated these days, because lots of the data, lot of the requirements from from the customer, from the government, from the regulation, and then for the designer, the manufacturing company to think about the many things at the same time. That's what Wanga mentioned, that multidisciplinary multi-physics simulation should be solved. For this kind of the solve, not only the simulation technology is not enough, honestly. So we need a very high power of the computing systems, and how effectively computers should be used for the specific solve the problems. And these days, big data and the stored in anywhere, that is a very value to understand the legacy data and the future data. So those are, but the data, big data should be handled by very, high-end technologies of the software. So those three, the piece of technology, high technology, can be merged into the one platform that we are aiming, because those are very connected to each other. And after, outcome is a very high high level results will be coming from those simulations. So not only three silo type of the technology it's a very important for a basic technology, the elemental technology, but combining those three technology into the one for example the manufacturing, for example the new design, that the more power and the more quickly and the more accurate result will become. That is our direction. That is the convergence of the three technologies.
Okay, then I want to ask Sri this question now. Based on what Ayame-san just said, Sri, could you give us some examples of perhaps how you helped with that convergence of those three technologies? So whether it's simulation, artificial intelligence, digital twin, etc., how that has helped your customers reduce cost, improve profits, design better products.
Yeah, sure. So what I do is I'm going to explain this through an example. A car used to be a dumb assembly of mechanical parts. Over time, controls and intelligence have been added, and there have been progress to the point when autonomous vehicle or system currently is capable of replacing human drivers. Okay, so traditionally, where each and every part, subsystems, their interactions thereof, and the car as a whole system would pass through a set of physical and virtual tests before being declared roadworthy. Now, when you add autonomous system, the need to model and validate the whole canvas becomes imperative. Okay, so in other words, to validate proper functioning of an autonomous system, we need to model and simulate the whole environment, right? Where the system functions. It's the car, the road, other vehicles on the road, traffic lighting system, pedestrian, side curves, and other things, and the connectivity to the infrastructure as well. And this is impossible without a number of pertinent technologies coming together. So we talked about artificial intelligence, machine learning. Another important component is MBSE, or model-based system engineering. So these are some of the pertinent technologies that come together to create, or in the making of, a contemporary or a smart product. Okay, so I can cite quite a number of customers, small and large, who use some components of these technologies to bring about change in their workplaces. Change could be like optimizing the inventory, for example, right? Or improving the productivity, or improving the quality, all of which impact the bottom line in a pretty positive way. So there are customers who, by investing as little as a few $1,000s, they leverage 10x of return on investment. Okay, so I'm talking about small companies. You can start very modest, and there are a number of them in Malaysia, in Singapore, in Thailand, name any of the countries that you want. Everywhere people are adopting the AI-driven technologies and getting benefited out of not only the product design and development, manufacturing, in the banks, all over the place.
Now, this is interesting because given the fact that we are just going through this acceleration now in terms of autonomous vehicles, electric vehicles, and then, of course, the rolling out of 5G across the Asia-Pacific region in an accelerated manner. So this obviously, gentlemen, is, and either of you can answer this, basically will help, as Ranga, you just mentioned, even smaller companies get into the game, because the larger companies are innovating perhaps out of China. Larger companies are rolling out the entire system, but there's really new opportunities to partner technology companies like you and play a role in that value chain. Either of you can answer this question. What are your thoughts on this, and where is the direction of the industry headed?
Yeah, so probably let me start with ASEAN and ANZ. Increasingly, we are seeing smaller companies trying to adopt some of these technologies, more specifically AI-driven and simulation technologies. That's probably because some of them have seen some benefits out of adopting them, and more and more people are now trying to adopt. And looking at the market, looks like even in the foreseeable future, we are going to see a big demand and a big boom in the adoption of these technologies, right? So from our side, what we're trying to do is we are trying to simplify the technology adoption complexity for some of the small and medium scale companies. So yeah, the newer technologies seem to be emerging faster than usual, right? And while the early adopters are keen to adopt newer technologies, they often get hindered by the skill gap. So we address that issue through MOUs, Memorandum of Understanding, with top universities in every country that we serve. For example, UTP in Malaysia, the University of Technology Petronas in Malaysia. And in certain countries, we tie up with even aspiring universities. Like in the Philippines, we recently signed up with University of Biztechasia, where the management is very progressive and the board members are pretty progressive. Through these MOUs, we provide requisite exposure to all the students and advanced certification for those that want to pursue their career in simulation or high performance computing or AI and ML kind of technologies. And we also assist the academicians in integrating our technologies into their regular curricula. And we offer internship opportunities to the students at our facilities on some of the cutting edge technologies so that they get exposed to real life challenges. And once they go into or begin their work in their respective companies, they act as catalysts to adopt in the adoption of technology, or they accelerate the technology adoption. So there are multiple ways in which we work with the industries and partner with the universities to improve technology adoption. We also, what we do with the small and medium scale industry is we start at the top. As you rightly mentioned, it's so very important for the top people to appreciate technology. Most of them see technology as a spend, as an expense. Any kind of technological acquisition is an expense for them. The moment they fine-tune their mindset, they start looking at it as an investment. Okay, any technology acquisition is an investment. Then they start investing in technology and reap benefits thereof. So what we started doing is we started conducting executive roundtables. This is to explain the concepts to the business owners, the chief transformation officers, in the right spirit, and provide assistance with the right starting points for the digital transformation. Once we have the buy-in from them, we go to the premises and start conducting what is called as the gap analysis. And once we do the gap analysis, we know the assays and the to-be states, and then we start putting plans to bridge the gap. Okay, and we also create what is called as a digitalization roadmap to fix the weaknesses and leverage of the strengths. We set up what is called a COE, or Center of Excellence, to upskill and reskill their staff in order to make adoption path much easier and smoother for them. And our training program also encourages discovery-driven digital transformation, or discovery-based transformation. An engineer on the shop floor, for example, would know the workflows that are tedious and need workaround, or places where he has to rely on someone else for data. Okay, equipped with our technology and tools, they would be able to find a solution quickly for their problems. Okay, and then the other buzzword is democratization. So we believe in technology democratization. Most of our software fall in the category of self-service, which means that they are pretty easy to use, pretty easy to learn. Right? This also means that organizations in certain cases need not spend a lot of money in hiring analysts or data scientists to work on their problems. The domain experts, people that work in the domain, can easily learn and leverage these technologies to solve their domain problems or domain issues. So these are some of the ways in which we are trying to educate the market. We are trying to create a digitalization roadmap so that the small and medium scale companies get benefited out of these technologies. And these technologies do not stay elitist only with some advanced or organizations with deep pockets, right? And what we also do is we also collect a lot of regional success stories, which resonate very well with businesses that like to adopt newer technologies. So these are some of the areas in which we help organizations to skill up and get benefited out of technology adoption.
Now, thanks for that, Sri. I want to now shift the conversation to Altair itself. And Ayame-san, perhaps you can enlighten us on the fact that Altair has made significant amount of acquisitions and investments in tech companies, 21 over the last few years. Walk us through what are the plans are for Altair in the Asia Pacific in 2023.
The recent, we acquired the more related to the data analytics part, because it's our, a little bit we started the data analytics business late time. So we need to accelerate our business for the data analytics. The first priority next year in APAC, this is not only APAC, but global, the priority number one is the data analytics penetration to the existing customer. Existing customer is a simulation customer, manufacturing company. We have a lot of the customer base over the world in the APAC region. So we want to introduce our technology, our vision of data analytics solutions, which created by ourselves as well as acquired the last 2-3 years, and that is ready to be used, the products. That is number one, our priorities.
Now, Ayame-san and Sri, it's been a fascinating conversation, and I really learned a lot. But before we leave, Ayame-san, any final thoughts you'd like to leave the audience with?
So I think we have the over 25 or 30 experience in this region, and we still think more chasing the new technologies in our whole of the company, and we want to be we want to become the technology partner all of the customer, from the large manufacturing and the small SMB companies, as well as the startup companies as well, and the university, as Ranga mentioned. So I want you to look at our website and understand what we are doing, what we have, the technologies. That's all. Ranga, do you want to say anything?
Yeah, just if I may add, my recommendation is for the organizations to look at tech acquisitions as investment and not as a spend or an expense. That would be point number one. And the skill gap exists, but yes, there are multiple ways in which we can beat down the skill gap. One of the ways is use technologies that fall in the self-service category, which does not require specialists to run the software tools or technologies. And there are we are trying to also simplify in various other ways the technology adoption by companies. We are trying to democratize our tools as much as possible so that it doesn't stay elitist, and a common engineer can also use it to find solutions to their problems in manufacturing or any other space for that matter.
Now, gentlemen, thank you very much for taking your time to be on the show.
Thanks, Brian. Thanks for inviting us. We enjoyed connecting with you.
We've been speaking to Masatomo Ayame, Altair's Senior Vice President, Asia Pacific, and Srirangam Srirangarajan, the Altair's Managing Director for ASEAN and ANZ, on Biztech's Technology Show. I'm Brian Fernandez. This interview will be on our website, www.biztech.asia, as well as our social media platforms. It'll also be on our syndication partners, TV stations, radio stations, and websites. Thanks a lot for tuning in.